You wake up every single morning already feeling entirely defeated by the day. The heavy weight of your endless modern obligations completely crushes your fragile chest. Your modern life is a soft cage of absolute comfort and endless leisure. Yet your mind is constantly fractured by invisible enemies you cannot even name. Look down at your trembling hands right now in this very quiet moment. What have you truly conquered with them in your short time on Earth? You seek an iron wall to protect your fragile peace from the world. I will tell you how true iron is forged in the deepest fires. The Spartan mind was not born unbreakable when a child entered the world. It was hammered into shape upon the anvil of relentless, agonizing daily physical torment. They took terrified boys away from the warm, soft embrace of weeping mothers. They threw them completely naked into the freezing currents of the dark Eurotas River. You endlessly complain about the slight draft in your heavily heated modern rooms. They learned to sleep soundly on beds made of sharp, unforgiving river reeds. Comfort breeds a sickness and a weakness that festers deep within the human soul. Only voluntary suffering can bleach this terrible weakness permanently from your soft bones. The ancient Agoge was not merely a simple training school for upcoming war. It was a brutal factory that manufactured absolute mental defiance in young men. The scarred elders watched the shivering boys with incredibly cold, calculating, empty eyes. They were specifically looking for the very first signs of a mental fracture. Physical pain is a very simple liar that tries to manipulate your reality. It tells your racing mind that you must immediately surrender to the agony. A Spartan child learned to silence that pathetic liar quickly and without hesitation. If he cried out in pain, the leather whips only struck his back harder. You run away quickly at the very first minor sting of modern criticism. You must learn to stand perfectly still while the heavy whip falls upon you. A massive hoplon shield heavily weighs down a seasoned warrior's entire left arm. It is crafted of thick wood and rimmed with cold, pale gray iron. You are constantly taught that you must only protect yourself in this life. The hoplon shield was designed entirely to protect the man standing beside you. To drop your heavy shield was the ultimate, unforgivable sin of pure cowardice. It meant your fragile mind completely broke long before your physical body did. Are you dropping your heavy shield in the middle of your own life? Are you completely abandoning your sacred duties when the burden gets too heavy? Grip the leather strap of your daily responsibilities tighter with your bleeding hands. Let the pale iron edge bite deeply into your aching, exhausted left shoulder. The phalanx formation requires every single mind to be completely and permanently locked. One fractured will can easily destroy an entire unbroken line of seasoned warriors. Your personal weaknesses do not only ruin your own isolated, incredibly small life. They actively poison the lives of absolutely everyone who deeply relies upon you. True, undeniable power is very often found in absolute, unwavering, terrifying dead silence. The Spartan warriors did not wildly boast or scream loudly in the battle. You constantly broadcast your every minor struggle to the entire uncaring modern world. You bleed out your vital energy through your continually open, complaining, weak mouth. A young Spartan youth was heavily encouraged to steal food to merely survive. He was severely and violently punished if he was ever caught by guards. It was not the simple act of theft that earned him the lash. It was the absolute sloppiness of being discovered by his hardened elder superiors. One famous boy hid a vicious, stolen wild fox beneath his simple tunic. The panicked beast began to savagely tear into his very own living flesh. The young boy stood at perfect, rigid attention without flinching for a second. He let the wild animal slowly kill him rather than cry out aloud. You let your own inner demons make you scream loudly into the void. You must strictly learn to hide the biting fox beneath your dark cloak. Let the intense pain endlessly gnaw at your vital organs and your soul. Keep your face completely frozen like a mask of carved, lifeless gray stone. Master your emotional reactions to the endless agony of this entirely broken world. Only then can you truly call yourself a master of other mortal men. The unbreakable iron wall is not actually built of physical stone or mortar. It is entirely built of men who have completely conquered their own minds. They marched for long days through the harsh, completely unforgiving, narrow mountain passes. The freezing rain turned the path into clinging, heavy, incredibly thick, dark mud. Their heavy crimson cloaks were entirely soaked with freezing, unforgiving, dark gray water. They absolutely did not slow their relentless, driving, rhythmic, marching pace for anything. You loudly complain when your daily morning commute is slightly delayed by traffic. Look closely at the dried mud on their hardened, scarred, incredibly calloused feet. The mortal mind quits thousands of steps before the physical body actually fails. The Spartan warrior simply refused to listen to his own cowardly, screaming mind. He fiercely commanded his exhausted legs to take one more agonizing forward step. Then he calmly commanded them to take just one more step after that. Break your massive, overwhelming problems down into a single, brutally immediate next step. Conquer the very next step and completely ignore the distant, terrifying dark horizon. The massive enemy host outnumbered them exactly 10-1 on the battlefield. Persian arrows completely blocked out the blinding light of the blazing afternoon sun. A lesser, weaker man would immediately drop to his shaking knees in despair. A true Spartan merely smiled coldly in the creeping, sudden, terrifying artificial shadows. Then we will fiercely fight in the shade, they said calmly and completely together. They found genuine dark humor in the face of absolute, entirely undeniable annihilation. You constantly let minor anxiety entirely blind you to your own hidden strength. Laugh coldly in the face of your overwhelming, massive daily odds right now. The horrific clash of iron on iron entirely deafens the fragile mortal ear. The incredibly thick smell of crimson blood completely chokes the dusty, dry air. The Spartan pulse remains perfectly, incredibly slow and steady amidst the bloody chaos. He deeply breathes in the chaos and violently breathes out pure, cold discipline. Fear is a highly natural poison that constantly floods the beating human heart. Courage is the brutal antidote you must choose to violently inject into yourself. You endlessly wait for fleeting motivation to finally get you out of bed. Motivation is a complete, utter myth heavily peddled to weak and fragile men. Cold discipline is the only true iron that will ever save your life. Discipline physically forces your shaking hand to hold the heavy, long ash spear. Thrust the sharp metal tip deeply into the rushing, screaming, chaotic enemy line. Pull it back and immediately prepare to violently thrust it forward once again. There is absolutely no lasting glory in a chaotic, screaming, undisciplined berserker rage. True, terrifying lethality is always found in cold, calculated, brutal, mechanical, rhythmic repetition. Apply this absolutely ruthless, cold repetition to your own chaotic, entirely unstructured habits. Strike your daily goals with the exact same heavy, unforgiving, sharp ash spear. Do not ever let your fleeting emotions completely dictate your vital daily actions. Let your cold iron discipline conquer your constantly fluctuating, incredibly weak modern feelings. A solid wall of pale shields is deeply beautiful in its terrifying symmetry. A perfectly disciplined human life holds that exact same terrible, entirely undeniable beauty. To build a truly unbreakable mind, you must first completely accept your death. The constant, gnawing fear of ending makes pathetic cowards of us absolutely all. Spartan mothers handed their young sons their massive, heavy, pale iron round shields. "Come back standing with this shield, or be carried upon it," they commanded. There was absolutely no acceptable middle ground of honorable retreat from the battlefield. You either decisively won the bloody day, or you died fiercely trying to. What are you genuinely willing to bleed and die for in this life? If you have nothing, you are entirely already completely dead inside your chest. You desperately cling to safety as if it somehow guarantees true lasting happiness. Safety only guarantees a very slow, incredibly meaningless, and entirely pathetic rotting decay. The Spartan warmly welcomed the final, glorious, incredibly violent ancient battlefield physical death. It was the single highest honor his ancient beloved city could ever bestow. He slowly combed his long dark hair before the final, massive, bloody battle. He calmly prepared for the violent end with pristine, chilling, incredibly terrifying vanity. Look your death directly in the eye and prepare your very mortal soul. Stop endlessly running from the dark shadow that will eventually and permanently catch you. When you fully accept your mortality, you become truly and entirely physically invincible. Nothing on this earth can ever threaten a dead man walking confidently forward. Build your internal iron wall out of completely accepted, cold, and calculated fatalism. Stand firmly behind it and let the entire world crash down around you. The massive fires of ancient Sparta burned completely out very long ago now. The heavy crimson cloaks have all entirely faded into dry, blowing gray dust. But the iron wall of the human mind can still be heavily rebuilt. It must be rebuilt right now inside your own currently weak, beating chest. Stop endlessly whining about the perceived unfairness of your soft modern daily lot. Absolutely no one is coming to save you from your own pathetic weakness. You are the sole, entire architect of your own miserable, isolated mental prison. You must physically forge the pale iron key to break yourself entirely out. Start with the absolutely smallest, most incredibly painful, deeply frustrating daily physical disciplines. Seek out the freezing cold water and the incredibly heavy, punishing iron lifting. When your weak mind loudly screams for rest, give it much more work. Severely punish your intense desire for absolute comfort until it finally completely submits. This is the only true, proven path to absolute, undeniable, permanent human freedom. The soft, modern man is always a miserable slave to his fleeting urges. The hard, disciplined man dictates the exact brutal terms of his own reality. He looks directly at chaos and firmly imposes his own pale iron will. Do you currently hear the steady, rhythmic drums of the marching ancient phalanx? They are beating loudly right now inside your own rushing, hot, crimson bloodstream. Pick up your heavy, pale iron shield and step firmly into the line. The brutal war for your own mind has only just barely even begun. I have vividly shown you the completely brutal path of the ancient warriors. The vital choice to walk it is entirely yours, and yours absolutely alone. Will you remain a completely soft, pathetic victim of your incredibly easy circumstances? Or will you finally forge a human mind that cannot ever be broken? Look deeply down at your entirely empty, wildly trembling, incredibly soft modern hands. Grip the invisible, heavy ash spear until your weak knuckles turn pure white. The massive iron wall deeply requires your own crimson blood and heavy sweat. It completely demands every single ounce of your fragile, currently unbroken human spirit. Build it right now, before the enemy totally breaches your fragile inner gates. Stand tall, lock your pale shield, and absolutely never surrender your own mind.